Watch what's approaching, the supreme moment. Reality striking closer than it seems, don't it? Go ahead, it's for the taking if you want it. If not, the dream dies and you'll be forever haunted. Then confront it.
What's good? So we're gonna test out the new free-to-play Future Android units, and as you all know, these guys have the ability to raise attack and defense as part of the super attack. So of course, like somebody commented on one of my previous videos, it's pretty much free real estate whenever a new unit with the stacking effect comes out. So let's go ahead and test these units out and see how much we can stack their attack and defense. So what you're seeing right now, as usual in the typical video setup, is the base starting attack and defense stats, and over the course of continuously stacking both attack and defense, you're going to see the difference of what that becomes. So again, base is pretty standard of, you know, I can't remember what it was. I think it was like roughly close to 200,000 in terms of attack stats, and defensive levels of maybe like, I don't know, 60, 70, 80,000 roughly. And yeah, you're gonna see this increase to quite a bit of a crazy number. So we'll talk about some of the units featured in a second. So yeah, about 148 with Android 17, and then about 130k with the Android 18 unit. You do have the MVP 17. He does boost the allies' defense in the rotation, and then you also see the LR Android 16, 17, and 18 that also does provide an attack increase of 40% to Android category allies. So you're going to see a differentiating rotation between the two here and there, but mostly you're going to see the testing rotation done on more or less the attack side with the LR Android 16, 17, and 18 on the rotation. So again, this is pretty much the second attack. I believe this is the third attacking rotation return, and then you've got, you know, the numbers slowly creeping up, and then, you know, we're basically going to skip around until, you know, we hit certain like benchmarks where, you know, attack stats are either at like 500,000, defensive stats are over at that level, you know, once we hit 1 million attack stats, stuff like that. So that's pretty much the format you're going to see here. So just wanted to show like the first couple of super attacks, what you would typically see on a normal battle setting, and then once you progress slowly over, you know, continuous stacking, you're going to see those numbers inflate quite a bit, and that's pretty much the format with that. Again, this is going to be strictly a test environment purpose. You're not going to see this type of, you know, output like the second half of the video. It's really under an unrealistic setting, and you're not going to see it on your typical battle setup. But, you know, it's always fun to kind of test it out and see how high those levels can actually get to. Of course, this is the Super Saiyan Rose Dokkan event. Basically the what was it, stage 1, where it's like 25 stamina or ACT. So for those wondering, that's pretty much the setup for that, where you go to, you know, test it out, because Zamasu does have pretty much 99 million in HP, and it's quite difficult to kill off his HP levels. So it's a good area to test it out on, and plus you're able to at least see some realistic damage output. Like the other one is like Super Saiyan 3 Broly, where pretty much Broly has such a great defense that you're not going to be able to apply like a decent amount of damage output. So I tend to prefer this stage over the other, and that's just pretty much a personal preference. That's all that is. So yeah, I mean, you know, 1.2 million, it's modest numbers. You know, honestly, I didn't keep track this time of how many turns had passed, unfortunately, because this is kind of done multitasking with other things, so you're not going to see a turn counter on this one. But at the same time, you can kind of tell we're basically just testing it over the course of turns within the 99 turn limit, and that's pretty much, you know, how things went. But defense is either way. I mean, the ability to raise both attack and defense is very beneficial to have. You know, a lot of units tend to have either or, you know, either attack or defense. And it can be, I don't know, somewhat of a liability sometimes, depending on your battle scenario. But it's always nice to have units that have the ability for both to be applied. And in this case, what's great about it is it's a free-to-play unit. So, you know, for battles such as the Fighting Legend Goku or Legendary Goku battle, or even like the Infinite Dragon Ball History, or some of the longer events, this skill set definitely does come in handy. Now, to the degree of how handy it becomes depends on the unit itself, but you know, we definitely got over 500,000 in terms of attack stats, and then defenses looks like over 200,000. So at this point already, I mean, they're looking pretty good in terms of, you know, the both attack and defensive stats, and that's prior to the super attack activating. The other thing to note is these guys run complementary to each other. I mean, one of the passive restrictions is to have either the Future Android 18 or Future Android 17 on the same turn. Basically, it's a medium chance of performing a critical hit when that happens, and the last portion of the passive skill is basically a guaranteed additional super attack if there's a Hybrid Saiyans category enemy. So, of course, when I refer to the Dragon Ball history, you do face a lot of quite a few Hybrid Saiyan enemies on that setting, so you're able to produce, you know, some better output in terms of stacking additional super attack every time they attack against those types of enemies. So that's another quick way to get the stats up there. So that definitely does help a little bit. You know, I mean, 2.2 million with a free-to-play unit, that's certainly not bad. Of course, there are plenty of other better free-to-play units at this point, but and on top of that, this did take quite a bit of stacking to occur to get to this level anyhow. But either way, I mean, it's still pretty modest in terms of their overall improvement. And you know, the simple fact that they're free-to-play units, they're going to come in handy at some point if they already aren't on some other newer maybe Dokkan events or challenges or whatever that comes out later down the road. So with having an attack stat of, you know, over 1 million, their normal attacks will cause a pretty decent amount of damage. Like, it'll be over 1 mil too. So, you know, even though the super attack necessarily doesn't hit for as much, you can, as you saw there, 1.5 million just from a normal attack. So you do see the real effect of how much you're actually stacking over the course of time. So that's one of the interesting things about it. I mean, in other videos, you would see units like, I don't know, like just hit for 4 or 5 million just from a normal attack. I think the craziest one was, I can't even remember, maybe like Tech Vegeta Blue, where his normal attack was like 8 million or something ridiculous like that, you know? So it really does make a difference over the course of time when you stack them continuously. But it's all a matter of just having fun, just testing units out, just seeing how they do. And yeah, I mean, 4.4 million with the free-to-play unit. And you can see with the LR Androids right here, it's 1.4 million attack stats with the 12-key super. So it kind of puts it in perspective how much of a difference this actually makes. So it looks like they did top 1 million, at least Android 18 did. It would have been definitely over 1 million had the LR Android 16, 17, and 18 been on rotation, but since the MVP 17 only provides a defensive boost, you're getting a higher number toward defense than you would with the attack here. But I mean, they're able to reach 2 million attack stats, so that in itself is pretty impressive. I mean, you're actually shedding off some HP from Zamasu too, so you know that definitely puts it in another layer of perspective. You know what I mean? So yeah, 1.2 million, 1.3 million, and then 1.1 billion in terms of attack stats and defensive stats are also up there. And yeah, it's just a matter of just, you know, seeing how high it'll go. I think at this point you're getting close to that 99 turn limit. Of course, it helps tremendously if you're able to squeeze in additional super attacks with every rotation. That way, it kind of speeds up the process in terms of how high you can get to certain levels. You know, so that's one of the variables when you're doing this test. Is it's highly dependent on if they get additional super attacks or not. Without them in a standard approach, and through this testing period, it was pretty much, yeah, you would see it periodically, but you wouldn't see it as often in terms of additional supers. So this is one of those, on average, you probably basically just, you know, got one super attack in, and that's pretty much it for the rotation. So we're pretty much capped off here with the 99 turn limit. So what we're going to do is utilize some items and further enhance the attack and defense and see what the numbers look like. So close to 2 mil attack stats, and then at least 600,000 toward the defensive stats. So I mean that's actually quite good for a free-to-play unit to be able to produce that kind of number. Of course, this is outside the realms of realism, honestly, at this point. But at the same time, you know, it's kind of crazy to see this stuff. And they're I mean, 3.8 million. I mean, that is, you know, that's close to like the LR levels at this point. You know, 3.8 million, 3.7 million attack stats, and damage applied is obviously a variable, but it did hit for about 3.8 million. And defense is quite up there as well. I mean, you can see the LR androids right here. Their attack stats are 3.2 million, so that really does give you you know, the big picture view of how this works, essentially. But now we'll see the defense levels. You know, its attacks are a little bit down because of that 40% missing from the boost from LR androids, but defense is also, you know, certainly made up for it because of MVP 17 on the rotation. And we'll close things out here and just see how they end up doing, and then yeah, we'll wrap things up. But hopefully enjoy the video. I know this is one of those series that people tend to enjoy watching whenever, you know, units are available. So hopefully enjoy the video. If you did, definitely let me know. And as always, I do appreciate you guys watching and checking out the video. And yeah, we'll go ahead and catch you guys later. All right, peace out.